An NBA insider just dropped a bombshell Celtics report, labeling Boston as a top landing spot for this future Hall of Fame free agent. Will the Celtics actually make the move / is this a good fit? We'll tell you all the latest and news around it right here on Celtics Digest. Welcome everybody, I'm Jace Andrews. I appreciate you tuning in to today's show. We've got lots to discuss. Before that though, if you are new, looking for daily Celtics news, got you covered. Go down there and hit that subscribe button, 100% free. Here is the headline. The Celtics have been named a best fit for a future Hall of Fame free agent by an NBA insider. And of course, if you have been following the NBA, if you know the NBA well, you know I'm talking about Russell Westbrook. Now, Westbrook currently right now is still a free agent after he spent the last season with the Denver Nuggets in what was just an okay year. And it seems as though he's going to go into the 2025-26 NBA season still remaining a free agent. But that could change after a couple of new reports. We talk about it here on the show, and let's go into that report as Alex Kristaps of Celtics SI says this, saying, quote, "The Boston Celtics already have 14 players inked to standard roster spots heading into the 2025-26 NBA season. Although wing Jordan Walsh and center Neemias Queta, their deals aren't fully guaranteed. So, even though there is 14 spots filled, a full NBA roster is 15 slots. So as of right now, the Celtics do have that current one slot open. However, would the Celtics be willing to use it when they're trying to get under that first apron? As that has been the entire goal of the offseason. That's why they've traded Kristaps Porziņģis. That's why they traded Jrue Holiday. Well, maybe, just maybe, but let's talk about why there is a report even going out there about Russell Westbrook. Alex Kristaps once again with the prerequisite to the official report saying, quote, "Robbie Struckos of Fox Sports advocates for Boston considering former 9-time All-Star point guard Russell Westbrook, who surprisingly remains unsigned deep into free agency." Couple of things around that. Russell Westbrook went into this free agency season expecting to get a veteran minimum contract, and I think the rest of the league is expecting that as well. The biggest thing to me, though, is if you're expecting that, you're going to be the last one picked. You're going to be the team's last choice. You're going to be, across the NBA, a guy who is not going to be heralded as this top free agent you want to go out and get, because odds are he'll be there later on in the process, and here we are. The talk around the town, at least over the past couple weeks / even months at this point, was that Westbrook would probably remain a free agent until the NBA season, and probably be an addition when an injury occurs would be probably the biggest outcome for him. But there is a way where the Celtics kind of make this a good move for them. And I have my own take on it, but let's go to the report and kind of talk about it real quick. Robbie Struckos of Fox Sports saying, quote, "1 year ago, the Celtics were the defending NBA champions and paying everybody on their roster. Now they're a team coming off a second-round playoff exit that lost its star player Jayson Tatum for the 2025-26 season to an Achilles tear." That is a very hard thing for us. I mean, I think it's kind of crazy, the absolute 180 we've been on, but in the same light, I think that might have lowered our expectations for this upcoming season too much, because the Eastern Conference is not good, and I think we'll be in a good spot, even with the team we have as of right now. But it still is hard to believe that a year ago we're talking about Jrue Holiday, Kristaps Porziņģis trying to go back-to-back and be the first team to do so for the Warriors, and now we're sitting here talking about should we sign Russell Westbrook, of all people, because that's how the past about 5 months have gone after the injury to Jayson Tatum. So would this be a good move? I think that it is, if it is under circumstances. Let's continue on with the report, though. Robbie Struckos of Fox Sports saying, quote, "Yes, Derrick White and Peyton Pritchard remain present and will inevitably have larger roles, while Anthony Simons, who the Celtics acquired from the Portland Trailblazers in the return for Jrue Holiday, is a plausible scorer in his own right. At the same time, Westbrook could be himself on the Celtics, coming off the bench as the second unit's leading scorer," end quote. And that's a big thing for me. I think if we look at this roster for the Boston Celtics, it doesn't look good. It doesn't. But there's a couple of few things that stand out to me. Baylor Shireman has to have a better year than what he did in this past season, especially being a first-round pick. I think we trust Derrick White and Peyton Pritchard, and I personally am hoping for an Anthony Simons trade just because that loosens up the luxury tax and a lot of other things for this team, while not really forfeiting a future. I mean, Simons is not going to be on this team past this upcoming year. You talk about Jaylen Brown, Sam Hauser, and Neemias Queta past that, though, and you feel like you got to be pretty good for a couple of different reasons. You like Jaylen Brown at that small forward position. Hauser being at the power forward is an intriguing one. I think Chris Boucher will probably step in there for a majority of the time. And there's a lot of hype surrounding Neemias Queta. So where does Russell Westbrook fit in all this? That's where I think an Anthony Simons has to happen if a Russell Wilson sign happening. So I would not be shocked at all. And I'll say this. If Anthony Simons gets traded and within days, especially if the return is mostly draft capital, which at this point I think that's the best option given you're trying to get under that luxury tax. Maybe you get a small young player that you're going to put somewhere, kind of like the Georges Niang trade where you got a rookie who is going to be on the G League. Maybe something like that, but I think in most aspects, you could probably trade him to a lower level team who maybe is looking to have a bump up and a younger player that they're going to look to pay. That would get you draft capital. Where in that light, you're probably going to be saying, okay, in that case, what is our guard situation? Well, it's going to be Derrick White, Peyton Pritchard, and Baylor Shireman. I really think at that point, a Russell Westbrook signing would be a perfect fit. Now, at the same time, Russell Westbrook is not the Russell Westbrook that we probably grew up watching in a lot of ways. I mean, I'm 23 years old, and I know Russell Westbrook as the king of the triple-double and the leader of the Oklahoma City Thunder. Now, he is 36 going into his age 37 season. He's lost a lot of step, and, there's a reason he remains unsigned right now. 13.3 points per game last season in 28 minutes per game as well. And in terms of rebounds and assists, they're about, league average, maybe a little bit below league average. Field goal percentage is still there, just not as good with the three-point touch anymore. In fact, most of his threes are assisted, almost 800 or almost 900%, 90% I should say, of his threes are assisted. So his three-point baskets are something that, are not good anymore. But I still do believe that he has some stuff in it. And I have to kind of look at this from an owner and a GM perspective and think, if they're thinking this is a gap year and their one goal is to get under that luxury tax, then why not make the trade for Anthony Simons, whether it be for draft capital, whether it be for a younger player who you could develop in the G League, and go out and sign Russell Westbrook? I mean, what is he going to cost? Not too much. I mean, veteran minimum is going to be different. In all reality, the team that we knew over the past 2 seasons is not going to be the Celtics we know this season. It's going to be a very different lookout. And that's what Robbie Strakowas of Fox Sports says here. He says, quote, relying on being a dominant defensive team that can stretch the floor won't work for the Celtics in 2025-2026. They need variety, and more than anything, capable and willing scorers. Westbrook, he fits the bill. And it's true. If that is the goal for the Boston Celtics, to have more variety in their squad, to be able to basically make themselves a more wholly dynamic team, which in the way that they're going to be structured this season is probably the most likely way that I would expect for Mazzulla to coach this team, and honestly for a way that I would see Brad Stevens to make sure this team is set up that way. So again, I personally think it's a good idea under the only circumstance is that you trade away Anthony Simons, which I personally am in a big vying for that I don't think you need to keep him. I think it's more important to get on the luxury tax, and that the Eastern Conference is so bad that even without Anthony Simons, I still believe you could probably go out and make the playoffs some way. With that being said, I want to get your opinion on this, so let me know down in the comments section. I feel like this is probably a pretty polarizing player, so I'm going to give you 2 options. I'll give you a third, though, if you want. How would you feel about the Celtics signing Russell Westbrook, though? I want you to put L if you'd love it, or H if you'd hate it. I feel like there's, most options are going to be that. If you want to go for that third option and it's like, I don't really care, neither, type in for neither, we don't care, NA, whatever you want to put. But L for love it, H for hate it. I feel like that's going to be most of the responses. I would love it, again, under the circumstances you trade Anthony Simons. If you don't trade Anthony Simons, this makes no sense. There's no signing to be made. You don't make this. There's veteran minimum exceptions. Celtics kind of ran out of all their exceptions at this point. GM Brad Stevens has done the right things to make sure that they can get as close as they can to getting under that luxury tax. But for right now, I truly do believe that the best option is to trade Anthony Simons. And at that point, I think a good signing would be Russell Westbrook. It'd be a fun thing. Be a fun thing to bring in to this team as well. And it's a media thing. You're gonna get Russell Westbrook on a pretty high popular team. I think it would be kind of funny to see him play in that Celtics jersey, and it completes kind of the rainbow of colors for him as well, playing with the Lakers, Wizards, Thunder, then the Celtics, and of course, most recently the Nuggets. So it'd be a fun thing to see, but let me know down in the comment section how you would feel. For now, though, we appreciate it. If you made it to the end of the video, you're obviously enjoying the content, so if you have not already, hit that subscribe button. We'll see you next time here, though, on Celtics Digest. Peace out, guys.